An anti-satellite weapon. That is a growing concern for the U.S., which relies on satellites for both military and commercial uses. CNN Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr has been looking into this. And tell us, Barbara, what you've been learning.
Well, Brianna, why is this so significant? It's because of what you just said. Satellites run everything from your laptop computer to the military's ability to drop precision bombs. So if those satellites are taken out of commission, that can bring things to a halt. And Russia is one of the countries out there that is testing weapons that can bring down, can destroy both commercial and military satellites that the U.S. runs. So the big concern about this latest test is Russia really making progress in being able to do this? One frightening scenario, it is believed that Russia has kamikaze satellites, essentially. That's the term that is used inside the U.S. military. Basically, Russian satellites that function as weapons themselves. They kind of sidle up to U.S. satellites out in space and blow up and can destroy a U.S. satellite. Growing concern, a new test. This high-tech technology could pose some very serious threats. Brianna?
And on another topic, Barbara, tell us about North Korea and the concerns there, about North Korea tonight.
Always a concern about provocations there, but a new concern tonight, Brianna. U.S. intelligence satellites in the last few days, we are told, have noticed activity at a North Korean chemical weapons plant, resumed activity. Now, what they don't know is what's going on inside. They are not at the point that they can say the North Koreans are producing chemical weapons at this site. Again, they haven't done so since 2014, but they do believe some activity, perhaps the power turned back on, some activity at the site. So to determine what North Korea may be up to here, now a top priority, U.S. satellites will keep watch on this facility, and there is concern as the United States goes into a new presidential administration. There could be moments of vulnerability in the minds of the North Korean regime. They could take advantage, they could conduct another missile test, an underground nuclear test. So a lot of eyes peeled on that regime, as always. Brianna?
Barbara Starr at the Pentagon, thank you so much. Coming up, a man wanted, or I should say a wanted notice and a reward for a Tunisian man who's suspected in the deadly Berlin Christmas market attack. German authorities are linking him to a pro-ISIS network. Can an urgent manhunt prevent another slaughter?
Choose to go, to indulge your curiosity, explore a new road, to see where it takes you. Meet the leaders who change the game. No matter where you are, no matter what the currency, when you run the numbers, they may surprise you. But stay your course. You're on the path to success. CNN Money.
What's it like to make a living off lust? Are you willing to fight against the odds? Can cops still fight crime while under the lens? This is Life.
This is Life with Lisa Lane. New episodes, Sundays at 10 on CNN.
Now, breaking news, soldier of ISIS. A manhunt is underway as German investigators identify a suspect in the Christmas market truck attack. A Tunisian asylum seeker believed to have ties to a pro-ISIS network in Germany. He was arrested as recently as August. Why did a German judge release him? Attack on humanity. President-elect Donald Trump makes his first public comment on the Berlin attack, backing away from his earlier characterization of it as an attack against Christians. Trump calls it disgraceful, and he tells reporters, quote, "You know my plans." Does he intend to pursue the Muslim immigrant ban that he promised during the campaign? Frozen relations. A Kremlin spokesman paints a grim picture of U.S. and Russian ties one day after President Obama imposes new sanctions on Moscow. But Donald Trump says he wants closer ties with Russia under his upcoming administration. Are the frozen relations about to thaw? And royal pains. Britain's Queen Elizabeth postpones her traditional holiday trip to her country estate. Buckingham Palace says she and her husband are suffering, quote, heavy colds. Could security concerns really be behind the very unusual change of plans? We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. Wolf Blitzer is off. I'm Brianna Keeler, and you're in the Situation Room.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We are following breaking news. An intense manhunt underway right now for the man German investigators believe drove a truck into that Christmas market in Berlin, killing 12 people. He's a 24-year-old Tunisian man who came to Germany as a refugee, was known to German authorities, and is believed to have ties to an ISIS recruiting network in Germany. President-elect Donald Trump is calling the Berlin rampage an attack on humanity after earlier referring to it as terrorist slaughter of Christians. Trump was asked if he's reevaluating that Muslim immigration ban that he campaigned on, and he said, quote, "You've known my plans all along, and they've been proven to be right." And just 4 weeks before Trump takes office, a Kremlin spokesman says nearly all levels of dialogue between Russia and the U.S. have been frozen. The State Department says it doesn't know what to make of that comment, adding that it's engaged with Moscow on a wide variety of issues right now, including as recently as yesterday at top levels. And new tonight, a rare move by Britain's Queen Elizabeth. She is postponing her annual trip to her country estate, where the royal family traditionally spends Christmas. In a statement, Buckingham Palace says the 90-year-old Queen and her 95-year-old husband are both suffering heavy colds. There are, though, questions about whether security concerns may be behind this unusual delay. We are covering that and more this hour with our guests, including a leading Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Chris Coons, and our correspondents and our expert analysts are also standing by. Let's begin with the manhunt for the suspect in the Berlin Christmas market attack. CNN's Aaron McLaughlin is in the German capital for us. So, Aaron, we're learning a lot of new information tonight about this man.
That's right, Brianna. We have some new information about the main suspect's past. His father gave an interview to a Tunisian radio station. In that interview, he said that Anis Amri moved to Italy when he was a teenager. There, he spent 4 years in an Italian prison for armed robbery charges. Once he was released from prison, that's when he made his way to Cologne, Germany, fell in with an Islamist crowd, now on the run and potentially armed and dangerous.
In Germany and across Europe tonight, a desperate manhunt. This arrest warrant issued by German authorities Wednesday for a 24-year-old Tunisian man, Anis Amri, now the only identified suspect of the Christmas market attack. His identity papers were found at the scene inside the stolen truck's cabin. Turns out Amri has been on the German authorities' radar for some time. According to German intelligence sources, he arrived in Germany mid-2015 and was involved in radical Islamist circles. He was linked to a leading figure of an ISIS recruitment network and was arrested in August for trying to travel to Italy using forged documents, but was let go by a judge. Amri also raised alarms when German intelligence believed he was looking to get a gun. Now, raids are being carried out in the Cologne area where police believe he lived. The German public is being warned that Amri could be violent and armed. The Polish man found shot dead inside the truck has been identified as its original driver, and the gun used to kill him has not yet been recovered. All this raising new questions as to how the deadliest terrorist attack to strike Berlin will impact German Chancellor Angela Merkel's political future. In 2015, Chancellor Merkel announced Germany would admit nearly all Iraqi and Syrian asylum seekers, triggering a human tidal wave through Europe. Germany accepted more than 800,000 refugees. Now a senior member of her own party admitting there is definitely a connection between increased terror danger and refugees. This year, German officials said they foiled multiple terror plots, but the country has seen at least 2 small-scale ISIS-inspired attacks carried out by refugees. As a result, the far right have made gains on an anti-immigration platform. After the horror in the Christmas market and with federal elections approaching in 2017, the woman many see as the linchpin holding Europe together could face the toughest battle of her career.
And we're already seeing political fallout here in Germany from this attack. Legislators pushing for new laws that would give government officials more powers for things such as electronic surveillance. We're also seeing more police out on the streets, paying particular attention to the main transportation hubs as holidaymakers try to make it home for Christmas. Brianna.
Erin McLaughlin, thank you for that report from Berlin. Let's get more now on this breaking news with CNN terrorism analyst Paul Cruikshank. Paul, what are you finding out about the man that Germans are now searching for right now? We're learning more, certainly, from this interview with his father.
That's right, an interview given to Mosaic FM, a Tunisian radio station, where the father said that his son had left Tunisia 7 years ago, travelled to Italy, and actually got involved in an arson attack on a school and a robbery, and had served 4 years in an Italian jail. So someone with a violent track record. The question will be, at what point was he radicalised? When he got to Germany, the Germans were able to establish that he was very radical indeed, and part of a ISIS recruiting network funneling wannabe jihadis to Syria and Iraq. They really did an intense investigation into him. They discovered he was trying to find a weapon at a certain point. At various points he was detained. In August he was detained in the south of Germany on his way to Italy with some false papers. There was a sort of deportation effort to get him out of the country, but they weren't able to establish his identity with certainty because, as the Germans would put it, the Tunisians did not share full details with them. So they were kind of in a catch-22 situation when it came to him, but they didn't sort of carry on, it would appear, doing a lot of intensive surveillance. But this individual, part of this radical network, we understand, in Germany, and the concern will be that they have the capacity now to either hide him in Germany, just like the Paris attack network hid Saleh Abdeslam, one of the attackers in that plot for so many months, or they could perhaps smuggle him out of the country. So it may be more difficult for the Germans to apprehend him, given all that information.
So tell us more about this network, if this is a network that would have not had direct contact with ISIS, and if there's any thought that he may have had direct contact with ISIS.
Well, the leader of this recruiting network in Germany, an Iraqi 32 years old by the name of Abu Wala, went around claiming he was actually part of ISIS. He was arrested with 4 other senior leaders of this network in November of this year, so just a few weeks ago. So with those kind of contacts, he would have had plenty of opportunity perhaps to get in touch with senior ISIS operatives back in Syria and Iraq. So I think it's very plausible indeed that he could have had some degree of communication, though there's no proof of that yet, back with ISIS in Syria and Iraq. They've claimed that this was ISIS-inspired, that he was following on from their calls to launch attacks in the West. But we've seen no claim of responsibility by the attacker himself in terms of anything posted on social media or any video that he has uploaded. And ISIS have actually instructed their recruits and the people that they're instigating to launch these attacks. You absolutely have to do this. You have to claim it for us because it's very, very helpful for us to take ownership. So far, he's not done that. Will he do that in the hours ahead?
All right, Paul Cruikshank, stay with us. We're going to see more of you later in the hour. Let's get more on all of this now with Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He is a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, so he brings that insight certainly to this discussion. And I know know, Senator, you've heard about what I think a lot of people are looking at and saying how when this person was on the radar of German authorities and who he had ties to this radical group, how did he slip through the cracks? What are you thinking about that?
Well, Brianna, that's a great question. That's one of the questions we're going to be sifting through to make sure we understand how German intelligence failed to intercept this particular radicalized individual. But we do also have to recognize what a big challenge it is across Western Europe, where we have a number of countries that don't cooperate as closely as they should, and where we are providing support and assistance to their intelligence agencies to better understand these sorts of radicalized individuals that are both, in some cases, citizens of their countries, and in other cases, recent immigrants to their countries.
What does this say about this case that he was able to easily escape from the Christmas market, that initially German authorities arrested the wrong suspect, of course spending precious time until they realized this isn't a guy who's tied to this truck?
Well, I think unlike the French and the British, where there have been, sadly, for decades, they've had the experiences of terrorism incidents in their major cities, Germany doesn't have as large of a domestic police presence, and in particular, they don't use as widely surveillance cameras within major German cities as the French and the British do. That's partly because, nearly half of Germany was under communist rule for decades, where the Stasi, their secret police, did surveil their citizens, and so there's much more resistance in Germany to the kind of cameras posted everywhere that might have allowed for very quick gathering of relevant evidence and for a very quick arrest in this case, as we have seen in other countries, in France and Great Britain, in Belgium. I do think in the United States, Brianna, we've got a challenge for the future in terms of striking the right balance between privacy and security. Between understanding how much we as Americans are willing to accept our government conducting surveillance in order to intercept potential terrorist threats, and how much we're going to continue to defend our treasured civil liberties as citizens of the United States.
As we know that this is a Tunisian national. We've had some experts who say that he should certainly, there's a distinction between him and, say, a refugee from Syria or from Iraq. But make no mistake about it, this is something, as you know, Senator, is creating a lot of anti-refugee sentiment building on what was already there in Germany. Is that something that you worry could actually help recruitment when we're talking about this recruitment network in Germany?
Well, I think what could help recruitment for radicalized jihadists is if we over-respond. If we as a country, if our president-elect, if our elected leaders respond in a way that marginalizes, stigmatizes, and attacks Islam as a religion, rather than holding up for our attention this very small number of radicalized jihadists. The suspect in this case in Germany is supposedly part of a Salafist network. This is an extremist view that is not held by the vast majority of Muslims around the world. And I think it's important how we respond, because there are, of course, a record number of refugees flooding into parts of Western Europe from North Africa, from the Middle East. And I think it is possible for us to continue to be sympathetic, welcoming, supportive to refugees who've been thoroughly and appropriately vetted, while recognizing the need to take strong action against those who really would do us harm and who've been radicalized.
How do we and how does Europe stop this? Obviously, there is U.S. military intervention in the region where ISIS is, but the reach seems almost uncontainable.
Well, there is a spreading violence in the Middle East. As you know, the tragic civil war in Syria, which has now claimed hundreds of thousands of lives, is going to produce consequences. I think the assassination of the Russian ambassador in Turkey was directly inspired by Russia's military intervention on the side of Assad. I think the tragic incident in Zurich, as it's further investigated and better understood, may well have been an outgrowth of right-wing reaction to Muslim refugees in the country. And I think this incident in Germany, as it's more thoroughly understood, may also lead to some further questions about how we balance privacy and security. I think at a time when we have more refugees in the world than at any point since the Second World War, we need to keep supporting the international relief effort to reduce human suffering, but we're also going to have to make some tough choices to bring conflicts in the Middle East to an end. And I'm concerned that President-elect Trump, is nominating some folks for senior leadership as his national security advisor and in other places in his cabinet that frankly may not see the challenges to our security posed by Russia and the challenges to our independence and to our liberties posed by Russian cybersecurity and by the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East.
And we're going to actually revisit that topic, some of the president-elect's appointments and what it means for U.S. security after a quick break. We'll be right back with Senator Chris Coons.